Hey everyone, and welcome to The Deep Dive. For those of you joining us from Vintage Car Chronicles on Spotify, Deezer, Apple Music, or YouTube, buckle up. Today, we're going deep into the world of De La Chapelle. They're a French car manufacturer, and their story is just as captivating as the cars they make. We've got a lot to dig into. We've got historical overviews, articles about specific models, and even, get this, stuff about miniature cars they made for kids.
It's pretty amazing, right? This whole mix of sources, it kind of reflects De La Chapelle themselves, family legacy, classic car inspiration, and then a little bit of the unexpected.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. De La Chapelle was founded in 1975 by Xavier de La Chapelle. But this wasn't his first time in the car world. He was actually bringing back a brand with a lot of family history, Stimula, which goes all the way back to the early 1900s.
And that connection to the past, particularly to a region and its automotive heritage, is key to understanding De La Chapelle. Stimula was based in the Lyon region of France, a place rich in automotive history. So from the very start, you get this feeling of regional pride and a continuation of a legacy that's woven into their story.
It's like they're keeping this tradition of car craftsmanship alive and that passion for the past. It's so obvious in their early models, especially that first car, the Stimula 55. It's inspired by the Bugatti Type 55 Roadster, for sure. But it's not a straight-up replica, is it?
Not even close. It's so cool. They didn't just want to copy the looks. They used modern materials like fiberglass for the bodies and the chassis, basically re-engineering this classic design so it drove better, They took a vintage car and gave it a 21st century upgrade.
That's awesome. It's like they're saying, we respect the past, but we're going to make it even better.
Right.
And here's the kicker. They actually got permission from Messier Bugatti to use the Bugatti badge on their cars. That's a huge deal.
For sure. It says a lot about the quality and the authenticity that De La Chapelle achieved. Just think about it. A small, relatively new car maker, and they get the okay from one of the most legendary names in the business. That must have opened some doors for them.
Right. Makes you wonder how those conversations went. What convinced Bugatti to let them use their badge? Was it purely about how well the cars were made? Or was there something more to it?
That's a great question. And you know what? Our sources don't actually say anything about those negotiations, but it definitely makes you curious. Did De La Chapelle have to meet certain performance standards? Did they have a shared vision for how to honor Bugatti's legacy? It'd be amazing to know the details.
Totally. But one thing's for sure, getting that Bugatti badge was a huge step for De La Chapelle. Instant credibility. Everyone knew they were serious about making high-end cars.
Yeah, and they didn't just stop there. After the success of the Stimula 55, they kept expanding their lineup. They went beyond just Bugatti-inspired models, but they always stayed true to that love for classic design.
They weren't happy with just being the Bugatti revival company.
Right.
They had their own path to forge while still honoring their roots.
Yeah.
So what other models did they come out with? What direction did they go in?
Their lineup actually became pretty diverse. In 1990, they introduced the Stimula 55 Tour. It was a 2+2 coupe version of the Roadster, so maybe they were trying to reach more people, like families, but without losing that classic look.
It's like they were testing the waters, trying to see how far they could push their design.
Yeah.
While keeping that core identity. And I'm guessing the Atalante 57S, which came out in 1992, was another step in that direction.
You could say that. The Atalante 57S took its cues from the Bugatti Type 57 Atalante, an incredibly rare and beautiful car. Only 17 were ever made. So by using that model for inspiration, De La Chapelle really tapped into something special, something that would appeal to collectors and enthusiasts.
Yeah, they were basically saying, we can make cars as breathtaking as the rarest Bugattis, but with a modern twist.
But you mentioned their portfolio becoming diverse, so I'm guessing there was more to it than just these high-end limited production models.
You're right. That same year, 1992, they launched the Grand Prix. It was a sportier roadster, designed to be more affordable. So it seems like they weren't only focused on the super-rich market, they wanted to share their passion for driving with a wider range of car lovers.
Interesting. It's kind of surprising. A company known for exclusive handmade cars. And they decide to offer something more affordable.
It does make you think, doesn't it? Were they trying to build up their brand name? Or did they genuinely want more people to experience their craftsmanship? Maybe they saw a market for people who wanted that De La Chapelle touch but couldn't afford their top-tier models. It makes you wonder if those different customer groups ever clashed, or if it simply made them more popular overall. But we can't forget about those cool side projects De La Chapelle had. The miniature cars they made for kids, the Juniors De La Chapelle.
Hmm.
Can you imagine a kid driving around in a tiny Bugatti Type 55?
I know, right? It's such a fun and unexpected part of their story. And they didn't stop with just the Bugatti. They made Juniors modeled after the BMW 328 and even the Ferrari 330 P2. It shows you that playful side of the company. They wanted to spark a love for cars in kids at a young age.
It definitely gives their brand a whole new dimension. You don't typically think of luxury car makers building mini cars for kids,
Yeah.
but it makes me wonder, were these Juniors just toys? Or did they put the same level of craftsmanship into them as their full-size cars?
That's where it gets even cooler. De La Chapelle didn't treat the Juniors like just any toy. They made them with incredible detail. Working engines, scaled-down interiors with leather seats and wood dashboards, just like the real thing. They even had working headlights and taillights. Talk about attention to detail.
Wow. So they really did put as much care and thought into these mini cars as they did their full-sized ones. It's clear they weren't just trying to make a quick buck. They genuinely wanted to create something special for kids who love cars.
It's like they were passing the torch to the next generation, sharing that love for design and craftsmanship from a young age. But speaking of unexpected ventures, there's another model that really stands out, the De La Chapelle Parcours.
Ah, yes. The luxurious, sporty minivan. Not exactly what you think of when you picture a boutique French car maker. What was the idea behind that one? Were they just way ahead of their time?
It is a fascinating thing to think about. Don't forget, this was the early 1990s. Minivans were just starting to become popular as family cars. It seems like De La Chapelle saw a chance to make the minivan better, to create a vehicle that was practical and luxurious.
So they weren't just trying to jump on the minivan trend, they wanted to redefine it. I can see the appeal families wanting something more refined and stylish than the typical minivan.
You got it. And they didn't forget about their sporty side either. The Parcours was designed to handle well and be fun to drive, even with a full car of people. They even thought about offering it with all-wheel drive.
A sporty, luxurious minivan with all-wheel drive. That does sound incredibly ahead of its time. It makes you wonder how people reacted back then.
That's a great point. And unfortunately, our sources don't really give us the answer. We do know they only made 3 of them, so it probably didn't sell as well as they hoped.
What a shame. It seemed like such a unique concept.
Ugh.
What do you think contributed to its limited success?
Well, the price tag probably didn't help. The Parcours was meant to be a luxury vehicle, so it wouldn't have been cheap. Probably not within reach for most families in the minivan market.
That makes sense. And then there's the image of minivans, even the fancy ones. Back then, they weren't seen as particularly stylish or exciting. Maybe people just weren't ready for a high-end minivan.
Could be. It might have just been too far ahead of the curve. Plus, don't forget, De La Chapelle was having financial troubles at that time, so that probably made it harder for them to fully support such an ambitious and unconventional project.
It's interesting to consider how those money problems might have affected their decisions. Did they have to choose some models over others? Did it force them to be more conservative with their designs?
These are great questions, and we'll definitely talk more about that as we go deeper into De La Chapelle's story. It's clear their journey wasn't always easy, but their love for cars and their dedication to craftsmanship never went away.
Yeah, it's amazing how they got through those tough times and still made such unique and ambitious vehicles. It shows their resilience and how determined they were.
Totally. They definitely weren't afraid to take risks, push the boundaries of car design, even when they had money problems. But you mentioned earlier that De La Chapelle's journey had some bumps, especially when it came to homologation. Can you explain what that is for our listeners who might not be familiar with the term? And why is it such a big deal for smaller car companies? Of course. So homologation is basically getting a car certified as road legal. It means meeting all kinds of safety standards, emissions regulations, and a bunch of other technical requirements. These requirements can change from country to country. For big car manufacturers with tons of resources, it's complicated, but they can handle it. But for smaller companies like De La Chapelle, it can be a huge obstacle.
Makes sense. It's one thing to have a great design and the skill to build it, but then you've got to deal with all the regulations and testing. That's a whole other thing.
Right. And these regulations have gotten stricter over time, which is good, It means safer cars and better environmental protection. But it does put more pressure on smaller companies. They don't have the same resources as the big guys.
So it's not just the cost of testing. It's also about having the knowledge and the people to deal with this whole homologation process.
Exactly. And as technology changes, testing and development get even more complex and expensive. Think about all the new safety features and emissions control systems in cars today. Meeting those standards, it takes special equipment and expertise. which can really drain the finances of smaller companies.
It sounds like a delicate balancing act for a company like De La Chapelle. This passion for classic design and hand-built quality, but they also have to deal with modern regulations and new technology.
It is a tough balance, especially when you're making limited production cars like De La Chapelle. They can't spread out the costs of homologation like a mass-market manufacturer can.
So how did they manage to get the Atalante V8 on the road? With all these challenges, it seems like such a complex and expensive car to homologate.
Well, they had to be clever. Instead of trying to get the whole Atalante V8 model line homologated, they decided to homologate each car individually, which takes way more time and money, but it was the only way they could do it, given their limited resources and where they wanted to sell the cars.
Wow, that shows some serious dedication. It would have been so much easier to just give up or scale back their plans. But they found a way to make it work.
It really speaks to their commitment to what they do, their passion for creating exceptional cars, no matter the obstacles. And, you know, that craftsmanship is what really sets De La Chapelle apart. You can see it in every part of their cars. That attention to detail, the high-quality materials they use.
Yeah, it's like stepping back in time, back to when cars were built with so much care.
You got it. They don't cut corners or compromise on quality. From the hand-stitched leather seats to those beautiful wood dashboards, everything is made with precision and artistry.
That kind of craftsmanship is hard to find these days, especially in mass-produced cars. It makes each De La Chapelle feel really special, like a work of art.
Exactly. That's one of the reasons why collectors love these cars so much. They're not just vehicles, they're investments, heirlooms, pieces of history.
And let's not forget about those adorable mini cars for kids. The Juniors De La Chapelle. I'm still thinking about a kid cruising around in a tiny Bugatti.
They're pretty fantastic, aren't they? Like a dream come true for a little car enthusiast. And what's amazing is that De La Chapelle put the same level of care into those miniature cars, just like their full-size ones.
I'm curious, what made them decide to make these Juniors? Was it just the marketing strategy to introduce their brand to younger people? Or was there something more to it?
That's a good question. Probably a bit of both, honestly. On the one hand, it's great marketing. What better way to build brand loyalty than to get kids excited about your cars? But I think it goes deeper than that. It shows a real love for cars and a desire to pass that passion on to the next generation.
I see what you mean. It's not just about selling cars. It's about sharing a love for car design and craftsmanship.
Right. And by making these high-quality, drivable mini cars, they weren't just giving kids a toy. They were giving them an experience, a taste of what it's like to drive a beautiful, well-made car.
Makes you wonder, did any of those kids who grew up driving Juniors end up becoming De La Chapelle customers later on?
That would be an amazing story. But speaking of memorable experiences, let's talk about the De La Chapelle parcours again. That luxury minivan that never really took off.
Yeah, the minivan that was ahead of its time. It's such a departure from their usual cars. What do you think made them decide to try something so different?
It was a bold move, for sure. Remember, this was the early 90s. The minivan market was all about practical family cars. De La Chapelle saw an opportunity. They wanted to elevate the minivan.
They basically wanted to reinvent the minivan. It's a shame it didn't work out, because the idea itself is really cool. A minivan that's spacious and has a great driving experience.
You're right, and they didn't skimp on performance either. The parcours was designed to be fun to drive, not something you usually associate with minivans.
It's like they were saying you can have it all: space, comfort, performance, and style. But then it flopped.
Unfortunately, yeah. As we talked about before, the price probably scared a lot of people away. It was meant to be a luxury vehicle, so it wouldn't have been affordable for most minivan buyers.
Right. Plus, there's the whole image thing again. Minivans, even the luxurious ones, weren't seen as cool or desirable back then. Maybe the market just wasn't ready for a high-end minivan.
You're probably right. A great idea, but the timing was off.
Yeah. It's interesting to think about how much the car world has changed since then. These days, people are more open to luxury minivans and SUVs. Maybe if the parcours had come out a decade or two later, it would have been a hit.
That's a good point. It makes you wonder, what if the parcours had been successful? Would it have changed De La Chapelle's path? Would they be known for their minivans today?
Those are some interesting questions. Sometimes timing is everything. But even though the parcours didn't succeed, De La Chapelle never lost sight of what they believed in. They kept building cars that reflected their passion for classic design, hand-built quality, and a unique style.
And that brings us back to their connection with Bugatti. That relationship has shaped them from the start. It still influences how they make cars today.
It's more than just inspiration. It's a real respect for a legacy of excellence. They've managed to capture the spirit of Bugatti while still creating their own identity.
Exactly. It shows they truly understand what makes those classic cars so special. They've combined the timeless elegance of Bugatti with modern technology and their own design flair.
Okay, so let's step back for a moment and talk about Bugatti's history. What made them so legendary? What is it about their design, their performance, their whole essence? That still fascinates car enthusiasts today.
Bugatti. The name itself has this aura of awe and admiration, you know. They were founded in 1909 by Ettore Bugatti and quickly became known for building some of the most advanced and luxurious cars of their time. Ettore Bugatti was a visionary, an engineer and a designer who was obsessed with perfection. He believed that a car should be more than just transportation. It should be a work of art, a symbol of elegance and power.
So it wasn't just about speed and performance. It was about creating a whole experience.
You got it. And you can see that philosophy in every part of their cars, from those smooth, flowing lines of the body to those incredibly detailed interiors. Bugatti cars were famous for their innovative engineering, the advanced materials they used, and their unwavering dedication to craftsmanship. They were also extremely expensive and exclusive, which just added to their mystique.
They were the ultimate status symbol,
Yeah.
a car for the elite.
Exactly. Owning a Bugatti meant you'd made it. You appreciated the finer things. And then there's their racing history, which only made them more legendary.
Right. They dominated racing in the 1920s and 30s, won so many Grand Prix races and endurance events. They were always pushing the limits of car technology.
Yep. Ettore Bugatti believed racing was the ultimate test for a car. He used what he learned on the track to make his road cars even better, that constant pursuit of excellence. It's what made Bugatti stand out and secured their place in automotive history.
In that same spirit, the innovation, the dedication, that's what De La Chapelle has tried to capture. They haven't just imitated Bugatti, they've embraced their philosophy, their craftsmanship.
Right, it's like they've taken the torch and are carrying it forward, adapting it for the 21st century. But staying true to what made Bugatti so legendary.
And you can see it in their cars, like the Atalante 57S. It's a clear tribute to the Bugatti Type 57 Atlantic. But it's more than that. It's a modern take on a classic.
Exactly. It's a perfect example of how De La Chapelle honors the past while looking to the future. They're not afraid to use new technology and materials, but they never sacrifice quality or attention to detail.
It's that dedication to excellence that makes De La Chapelle cars so special. They're not just cars. They're expressions of passion, artistry, and a love for the automobile.
And they're a testament to Bugatti's lasting legacy, a brand that still inspires car enthusiasts all over the world. But as we've seen, De La Chapelle's story is more than just about Bugatti. It's a journey of innovation and perseverance, a constant search for something truly unique.
And that journey has taken them in some unexpected directions, like those miniature cars for kids, and that luxury minivan.
Right. It reminds us that even in a world of mass production and technology, there's still room for smaller companies driven by passion and craftsmanship.
And that brings us to the present day. The latest chapter in De La Chapelle's story, the Atalante V8. This car seems to represent everything they've learned and achieved. A blend of classic inspiration, modern performance, and handcrafted luxury.
It does, doesn't it? It embodies everything De La Chapelle stands for. It's a testament to their heritage, their resilience, and their unwavering commitment to creating exceptional automobiles.
Let's shift gears one last time and take a closer look at this modern masterpiece. What makes the Atalante V8 different from the cars that came before it? What new innovations and design elements have they incorporated?
Well, the Atalante V8 truly is a masterpiece of engineering and design. It's a modern interpretation of the classic Bugatti Type 57 Atalante. But it's more than just a reimagining. De La Chapelle has taken the essence of that iconic car and infused it with modern technology and performance.
It's like they took a timeless classic and brought it into the 21st century, without losing any of its elegance or charm.
Exactly. And at the heart of the Atalante V8 is a powerful V8 engine from a Corvette. It delivers an amazing driving experience. This is a big change from the engines in those early Bugattis, but it shows De La Chapelle's willingness to embrace modern technology while still staying true to their roots.
It's a great example of how they blend the old and the new, the classic and the contemporary. It's not just about tradition. It's about honoring it while pushing the boundaries.
I agree. And they haven't forgotten about craftsmanship. The interior of the Atalante V8 is proof of that. The attention to detail, those beautiful materials.
Tell me more about the interior. What makes it so special?
Well, it's a mix of luxury materials and handcrafted details. The seats are covered in soft leather. The dashboard is made of polished wood. Every surface is perfectly finished. It's the kind of interior that makes you want to touch everything, to feel the textures and appreciate the artistry.
It sounds like a sanctuary, a place to escape and just enjoy the drive.
It is. It reflects De La Chapelle's commitment to making cars that are not just beautiful, but also a joy to experience.
And we can't forget the exterior design, those flowing lines, that distinctive rear end. It's a clear nod to the Bugatti Type 57 Atalante, but they've also added their own touches, haven't they?
Absolutely. The Atalante V8 is a stunning car from every angle. It turns heads wherever it goes. It's a perfect blend of classic elegance and modern sophistication.
And it's definitely going to become a collector's item, with its limited production run, the hand-built quality, and the connection to both Bugatti and De La Chapelle's history.
I have no doubt about it. The Atalante V8 represents the culmination of De La Chapelle's journey. It shows their passion, their perseverance, and their unwavering commitment to excellence.
And it reminds us, even in a world where mass production is king, there's still a place for smaller companies driven by a love for their craft and a desire to create something truly special.
And that brings us to the man behind De La Chapelle, Xavier de La Chapelle himself. His dedication, his love for classic cars, his determination, they've shaped the company.
He's a true car enthusiast, someone who gets it. The allure of a beautiful hand-built car, that emotional connection it can create. And he's never been afraid to take risks, to innovate, even when things were tough.
Yeah, from bringing back his family's car brand, to making those amazing miniature cars for kids, to trying something totally new with that luxury minivan, Xavier has always followed his passion.
And his legacy lives on in every De La Chapelle car, a testament to his commitment to excellence and his belief in the power of hand-built automobiles.
It's a pretty amazing story, right? This company thriving in a world obsessed with mass production and the latest tech, De La Chapelle has stayed true to their values, honoring the tradition of hand-built cars.
Yeah, it's impressive. They've shown that there's still a demand for cars built with passion, cars built with precision, and respect for the art of making automobiles. But the car industry is always changing. New technologies and trends popping up all the time. So how do you think a company like De La Chapelle can navigate these changes? Can they keep their unique identity? In a world focused on electric vehicles, self-driving cars, and all that futuristic stuff.
That's the big question, isn't it? You might think that a company focused on classic design and craftsmanship would have trouble keeping up with all these changes. But actually, I think De La Chapelle has a few things going for them, things that could help them not just survive, but actually thrive in this new era.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What are these advantages? Why are you so optimistic about their future?
Well, for one thing, there's this growing appreciation for authenticity, for things that are well-made, handcrafted, things with a story behind them. In a world that's becoming more and more digital and impersonal, people are looking for real experiences, things that connect them to the past, things with timeless quality. And that's exactly what De La Chapelle offers. Their cars are a reminder that driving isn't just about getting from point A to point B. It can be an experience, a delight for the senses, a connection to a time of elegance and craftsmanship.
Like the slow food movement, but for cars.
Yeah.
People want quality over quantity, craftsmanship over mass production, experiences, not just functionality. And De La Chapelle nails that.
You got it. Their cars have a story, they evoke a sense of nostalgia and romance, and they offer a level of personalization that you just can't get with mass-produced vehicles. That's a strong selling point in today's market.
So they're not just selling cars, they're selling a lifestyle, an experience, a connection to history and a timeless style. But how can they make that work in a world dominated by technology? How do they bridge the gap between their traditional approach and the demands of a modern market?
That's the challenge, and I think they're already doing some things right. Their revival with the Atalante V8 shows that they're willing to embrace new technology. While still staying true to themselves, they used a powerful Corvette engine to give modern drivers the performance they want. But they didn't sacrifice the hand-built quality and the attention to detail that defines De La Chapelle.
It's like they found a way to blend the old and the new, the classic and the modern.
Exactly. And I think there are other things they could do to strengthen their position. For instance, they could tap into the trend of personalization. People want cars that express their own style, and De La Chapelle's bespoke approach is perfect for that.
They already offer quite a bit of customization.
Right.
People can choose different colors, materials, and finishes for their cars.
Right. But they could take it even further. Offer more personalized options, maybe collaborate with artisans and designers to create one-of-a-kind cars tailored to each client. Imagine a De La Chapelle with custom interiors, unique paint jobs, and details that reflect the owner's passions.
like haute couture for cars.
Yeah.
It plays to their strengths as a small company. They can give that level of attention and craftsmanship, something bigger companies just can't do.
Absolutely. And it would attract those customers who value exclusivity and personalization. There's another trend De La Chapelle could take advantage of, the growing interest in classic cars. You've got a new generation of enthusiasts discovering these vintage machines. And De La Chapelle's connection to Bugatti could really help them here.
Yeah, they could become like curators of car history, offering restoration services, organizing events for classic car owners, building a community around their brand.
You got it. It's a smart way to use their expertise and connect with a passionate market. And they could do all this while still building their own modern classics, solidifying their legacy as a company that honors the past while shaping the future.
That's a pretty exciting vision for the future. They're not just selling cars. They're selling an experience, a connection to something bigger, a reminder that even in a world of mass production and technology, true craftsmanship and artistry still matter.
Well said. De La Chapelle understands the power of a good story, the allure of the past, and the importance of staying true to their values. If they keep doing that, I have no doubt they'll continue to succeed and capture the hearts of car enthusiasts for a long time.
This has been fantastic. Diving into the world of De La Chapelle with you, I've learned so much about their history, their philosophy, their cars. It's given me a whole new appreciation for the art of car making and the passion that drives companies like De La Chapelle.
It's been my pleasure. I always love exploring the stories behind these iconic brands.
Well, to all our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into De La Chapelle. We hope you enjoyed it. And be sure to tune in to Vintage Car Chronicles every day for more amazing stories from the world of cars. Until next time.